Welcome back, everyone, and to those new and with an unsoiled impression of me, delightfully tentative but not overly enthusiastic of greetings to you as well. All months of the year are part of bookbinding season to me, of course, but the best of the months are those I can enjoy outdoors, especially since it allows me to create my own paper. Such days are limited in this climate, but here and there we all may be surprised. And surprised and delighted I was to be able to create these next papers for yet another client book. So, into the pretend forest we go. I say pretend because it is just a small area with a couple more trees than usual, but it'll do. This video is also a time capsule because this is footage from flower collecting back when things were more enjoyably lush, regrettable as these winter months are. But alas, you and I shall live vicariously through better days during this little escapade. This book was yet another commissioned by a client, and their requests were as follows. White handmade cotton paper, with pressed flower pages intermixed throughout, and an authentic black quartz crystal, atop black alligator-patterned leather. I always begin from the paper, and of course that means I need its components. I collected cuttings of various wildflowers of various colors, never taking too many growths from any single plant. Other aspects of the design were left up to my discretion. But of course, I always communicated my progress and choices with the client as I went along. Ah yes, here I am, elegant as usual, of course, and my camera woman, elegant as well, obviously. I must be nice, she is also the editor, if you couldn't tell by the uniform, which is to say casually dressed. By some miracle, despite the fact that it looks like she tries stepping in the center of the stream, we both found success. Fake forest or no, it was highly populated in local ducks and was therefore worthy of my visit. After time has passed, of course, you can see me here removing the beautifully pressed flowers from the pages of the nerdy books. And Dr. Seuss? They worked, alright, clearly. I have large spoils of flowers to operate with. Now, I shall begin to make paper from scratch. Beginning with a tub of water, I pour blended paper pulp and PVA glue for strength, and give it a good swirl with my fingertips. The paper pulp has not a specific recipe, it is just scraps of printer paper and other leftovers I have on hand, as well as water and a little toilet paper to increase the softness of the final result. Incredibly enthusiastically, I must add also, I do wear coverage over clothes I don't wish to cover in watery glue and paper guts. Taking my molten decal, I dip them into the water stacked one atop the other. Upon pulling them out, they create a lovely rectangular shape, perfect size and aspect ratio for a medium-sized book. I squeeze as much water from them back into the tub as I can to speed up the process of removing them individually from the mold. Every video containing these shop towels, until the day I die, I will say it. They are incredible. These are the same ones I used from the first client video I published, and they've been used in some paper-making occasions since. When they soak too far through, I simply hang them up to dry and cycle through them in rounds. They are continuing to take wear and tear with each iteration, though eventually, I will perhaps grind them up into pulp and create paper with them to complete the circle of life. The process of papermaking is tedious when one wishes to make so many papers in a sitting. Each page must be delicately handled and given individual treatment, lest they shall rip, or be too soaked to move. The pages with the flowers need even more additional attention. While the pulp is still soaked on the molten decal, I sprinkle flowers throughout, avoiding the middle as it is the fold line, and pressing them down into the still wet pulp so that they may embed themselves to a degree. Otherwise, they may fall out in the future. Then, when I go to squeeze the water, they embed themselves even farther. I am especially careful when transferring them, as I do not wish to waste so many flowers. Now they are dried and pressed. Time to remove them from the press. Time to Remove them from the press. No, I couldn't get one of them. Another reason my camera woman is not to be disrespected. Pulling out the papers is incredibly satisfying. Sorting the signatures is even more so. And folding them together, I cannot even express. Each signature contains 3 pages as they are so thick, one plain white, one flower in the middle, and another plain white. They must be folded individually due once again to their thickness. Once the final signature is folded, and they are all in their correct places atop each other according to my orders, I even them on the edges according to the spine and mark the holes for punching. I bind with a case binding method, using a set of 2 twill tapes to go on either side of the spine. This accounts for 6 holes, 1 on either end and 2 for each tape. Once the holes are punched, I cut the tapes with quite a large allowance on either side, as I use them to secure the text block to the cover. Apologies in advance for the camera view, as sometimes while sewing I leave it. My filming setup consists of a cell phone camera and a tripod that lost its little nut that secures it in place at certain angles, so I'm limited by my own inability to identify what nut it needs for replacement, yet too miserly to buy another one in the time being. The text block has been sewn and each page is satisfyingly in its place. Now, I will secure fine linen to the spine. Due to its soft and malleable nature, it is very cooperative and retains its flexibility and loyalty in its adhesion over time. Whether the spine is open or bent any which way, linen will reliably remain holding it together. On camera, I used a glue spreader, but as soon as it turned off, I got my itching sticky fingers all over it to spread the glue into every crevice. Then, back into the press. Here, its spine will take shape and the pages will press more comfortably in their permanent homes. Now for the headbands. A difficult part to film and a strange finagled position for my camera woman to stand in and hold her breath for an extended period of time. Inserting the needle through the first signature, I begin to sew with metallic colored thread, a thin yet flashy option that matches the chosen color palette of the tome. On books whose paper has deckled edges, the headbands can be a little more difficult to sew. The edges they sit against are not flat, and keeping them as level as possible, especially when tagging into a new signature, can prove to be a bit uncooperative. With time and much practice, however, the feeling of the way it works comes more naturally. Not to say I'm perfect, though I'm not saying I'm not. I completely forgot to add the bookmark until now, so I'm glad I remembered at this point in time. I know I just implied I might be perfect, but my own footage is betraying me. I used a satin ribbon as the bookmark for this tome. I secure it against the linen and underneath the headband before I sew over it. This provides it some structure and also looks most satisfying, as it appears to come from somewhere unseen, seamlessly beneath them. To finish the headband, I wrap a few times more and stitch it through the final signature to the exterior, so no knots are visible on the inside. It also allows me to soak the knots where no one will see them in glue, as I always get paranoid that they will come undone somehow. Onto the covers. For the embossing designs, I use a combination of hand-cut cardboard from the backs of sketchbooks and oven-baked polymer clay to give the center crystal a more comfortable place of rest. I roll it out within the boundaries I have laid and cut around its edges, along with the organic edges of the crystal. I bake it, and then add it to the combination of the back cover and the spine. On some larger books, I add black canvas to the spine. This is due to my style of binding, wherein the spine is open. In some cases, if the spine of the text block is quite thick, you can peer inside and see the crazy inner workings, which is what I'm covering here. Now for the leather. I cut a large piece of vegetable-tanned alligator embossed leather with plenty of room on all sides. I cut the piece deliberately so the natural patterning will occur in areas of interest across the book, thinner scaling on the spine, and detailed heavy scaling across the center of the front and back. Being vegetable-tanned, it is very malleable, though it requires me to first get it wet. I do an initial spraying across its surface, though there will be many more times I need to wet it throughout the process. I begin from the spine and work my way outward, section by section. This leather is thicker than I'm accustomed to, so every section was quite small and certainly accomplished the task a little at a time. I make sure every rib of the spine is given proper attention. This leather required more working than others I have used, and consistency refining the lines until it dried. At some points, I had smoothed the leather down with my fingers so much that some of the patterning began to grow faint. I came in with the bone folder and redrew the texturing manually. I completed the back before the front, as its geometry was more simple and allowed me cover practice before moving on to the area for the centerpiece. I always begin with a light smoothing of the leather when I begin a new section, pressing it down with my fingers to give it a stable foundation, and then laying in the crevices and stiff edges with the bone folder for definition. Once the leather has dried entirely overnight, I move on to the dyeing. Using pure black Fibings leather dye, I work the staining rag into every single little crease, some of which require stubborn dedication. Always wear proper skin protection when dyeing leather. It is meant for dyeing skin, so when it hits your bare flesh, it will seep into it and doesn't leave for quite some time. I say this, but only because I know the pain firsthand. Once it has dried completely, I also cover the dyed areas with satin leather finish. This gives the book a beautiful matte look with very smooth and subtle sheen. Now, we may attach the text block. Once given proper time to dry, one of the most triumphant parts of the process can begin: embellishments. I always reinforce the pieces with leather glue and a few drips of quick-drying superglue to hold elements in place to give the leather glue time to adhere. I will also press and hold manually for quite some time to be safe. Gold leafing is applied to the cover in small areas to enhance the natural geometry and inlay the gem as a centerpiece of attention. Now the final reveal in a hotel bathroom. Woo! I was traveling to a convention and needed to deliver the book on the road, so you get a seat in the only semi-well-lit place in the joint. Thank you for joining me, and thank you if you've made it this far. I'm beginning to settle into this new rhythm of content, and am preparing new things as well to go along with it. I hope you're enjoying my bookbinding journey as much as I enjoy sharing it with you. And as this Renaissance music playlist I'm currently listening to is making me feel like a 19th century villain, I suppose I will report that soon I will be back with more. With villainous intent.